you have TikTok and you like basketball, you probably know Chilltown Hoops.
Children of all ages, act like you know.
Yeah. What up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls all over the world? Y'all know what time it is when y'all see me. What is going on a Wednesday? Welcome to Chilltown Hoops, where it's basketball season, when it's not basketball season, where it's always basketball season. You know what I tell you guys before we get started? Put on a suit, drink water, don't drink and drive. That's at the end. Yes, that is at the end. In the beginning, I am in effect. Y'all know what it is when y'all see me. So because of that, I want to get right to it today. Right? I want to get right to it today. I don't want to waste a lot of time with a lot of nonsense off the strength that we got a lot to cover. And we got a little bit of time to do it. So I know I'm not on the fence about this. I'm not thinking maybe, I'm not thinking possibly. I know for a fact that you guys that talk about the Eastern Conference, I already know what it is. The Eastern Conference, this isn't your uncle's Eastern Conference. This isn't your father's Eastern Conference. This is a way different Eastern Conference today than what it was. What up, Monet? This is a way different Eastern Conference today than what it was when your uncle was watching it, when your father was watching it. This isn't the Western Conference. This Eastern Conference, this isn't the Eastern Conference from the 2000s. This isn't the Eastern Conference from the 2010s. There's much better competition. There's much better teams. There's a lot more parity in the Eastern Conference now than there's been in a long time. In fact, when I think about it, from the playoff teams alone, right? Just from the playoff teams alone, when I think about the parity in the East, it's similar. It's not the same. It's similar to what's going on in the Western Conference, where I have a team that's in 5th place. They could very well be in 7th place and be in the play-in tournament. I have a team in 4th place that could very well be in 6th place. I think there's a lot of parity in the Eastern Conference. When I think about the East when Jordan was running around, for example, in the 80s. So you had the Detroit Pistons, you had the Celtics with Larry Bird, you had the Pistons with Isaiah, you had the Hawks, you had, who am I leaving out? You had the Detroit Pistons, you had the Hawks, you had the 76ers, you had Boston. That was about it. Like the Knicks weren't that good during that time. Milwaukee had a good team. They were pretty good. But what I'm looking at from this Eastern Conference today, from years ago in the 90s, in the 80s, and in the 90s, when you had the Bulls, and you had the Knicks, and you had the Pacers, and Atlanta was good. Let's see. Miami was good. You had some good teams in the 90s. This Eastern Conference, I think you have 7 or 8 legit playoff teams. Legit. 7 or 8 legit teams. 7 or 8 legit playoff teams. And then you have the other teams that could be knocking on the door. I don't remember when it was that much of a I don't remember when it was that much parity. It was 3 or 4 teams, and then it was everybody else. You know, like I talk about in the 90s, it was the Bulls. It was the Knicks. It was the Pacers. Atlanta had a good team. Orlando had a good team. Like these are the teams. These are the teams that I'm thinking about in the East during that time. Now we're in a space where you got 8, 9 teams that I think are legit playoff teams. Legit. Now, is it the nightmare Western Conference where it's going to take 50 wins to get into the playoffs like it is there? I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that bad, but I do think that you have a lot of teams in the East. I think you have a lot of teams in the East that are a lot better than people give credit for. And what I see a lot more than not is the narrative that people run with, which is the East is weak. Well, that's a narrative that was years ago, and it was legit. It was legit. And the reason why it was legit was because this was during a time where, 1 in every 5 players was making an all-pro team in the East. The East was not anything to run home about. No. You had James in the East. You had Carmelo Anthony in the East. Dwayne Wade was going the other way. Chris Bosh was in the East. You didn't have DeMar DeRozan was in the East. These are the all-NBA players that were in the East. The majority of the all-NBA players, they were in the Western Conference. This Eastern Conference, okay, you got the NBA champion in the East. That's number one. You had, before he got hurt, you had the MVP favorite in the East in Joel Embiid. You got the assist leader in the East. You got the most improved player in the East. You got arguably the best defensive player in the game in the East, in Bam Adebayo. So the East is a lot tougher today than what it used to be, and it's great for the game. The majority of the people live on the East Coast. I don't know if you guys know that, but the majority of the people in America live on the East Coast. So because the majority of the people live on the East Coast, they're going to pay more attention when the East is good. When the East is whack, yeah, not too much. Not too much. Absolutely, TD12. The best 2 guard in the game is in the East. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot more going on today in the East that wasn't going on years ago. A lot more. And I think that's a result. These players being what they are a result of their teams being good. So I think about how good the Eastern Conference has become, and I think about how good I think about how good this is for the game. And at the top of the Eastern Conference is the NBA champion, and that's the Boston Celtics, who I am very much in favor of them winning the NBA championship. And the reason why I'm in favor of them winning the NBA championship, because they won it last year, and their attitude was run it back. I think Peyton Pritchard is, before I even get started on Jason Tatum, who I think is a top 5 player in the game, I think the coverages that he sees, I think he excels in a lot of them. I think his game has expanded. But before I even get started on him or Jaylen Brown and Derek, before I get started on any of them, I think about how good their rotation players are. I mean, I think Peyton Pritchard, I think he's arguably the best backup lead guard in the game. And I know how good TJ McConnell is, who, another prime example. You got the assist leader in the East. You may have the best backup lead guard in the game in the East. And you arguably have the second best backup lead guard in the game in the East. And I love how Peyton Pritchard fits in with this unit. I think this season, Kata inserts himself more into the lineup. I think he shed some of Cornette's minutes. With him shedding some of Cornette's minutes, I think that takes some of the load off of Al Horford, so Al Horford can be preserved for the playoffs. And also, because KP is out of the lineup, that's also going to help, because he can be the rim protector that they don't have. And rebounder, I think he gets better. I think he could supplement what KP does defensively and hold it down until KP gets back. I think that's a great thing. I'm reluctant to put the Knicks at 2, but from a talent standpoint, I think the Knicks are at 2, but I think that that's going to change. And the reason why that's going to change is because I feel like you guys have forgotten, which you don't talk about nearly as much. I think it's interesting that you don't talk about it. Like, we talking about the Knicks like they got Kevin Garnett. Like, Cat just is always nice as hell in the playoffs. We talking about the Knicks, right? We're talking about the Knicks like they just got Kevin Garnett. And Cat's got a history of being nice as hell in the playoffs, when that's just not true. That's just not true at all. So with getting Cat, I think that's going to help. You know, I won't argue that. I 100% believe that that's going to help. You have arguably the best stretch 5, stretch 4 in the game, and the best shooting big man in the game. His game starts from the 15-foot line. It goes out and then it comes back in, and he will take advantage of mismatches. But Cat has the quote unquote, he's got the kitty cat label. He can be a bit soft. And he doesn't have a great track record in the playoffs. He doesn't. Now, last year he was an all-star, and I thought he was great playing alongside of Rudy. Just defensively, how much better he had gotten. Because when he first got with Rudy at the 4, he just looked lost. Coverages are different when you play in the 4 than you are playing the 5. A lot more pick and roll, a lot more drop, a lot more hedging that he has to do playing the 4 than he does the 5. Playing on the perimeter, closing out on bigger guys, being able to beat big guys to spots, because big guys at the 4 spot, guys like Julius Randle, Julius Randle. I'm thinking about Foreman, Julius Randle, Giannis, guys like that get downhill. Right? Guys like that get downhill. And because they get downhill, you got to be able to beat guys to spots. You got to be physical. And with them being physical, right? With those guys being physical, you have to be physical. So it's not like Cat has an extensive record of getting busy in the playoffs and he's the missing piece in New York. I've seen the Knicks fan base, which I am not a fan of at all. I've seen the Knicks fan base turn on a guy as quickly as they love you. That's how quick they turn on you. We're talking about Julius Randle, who was a throwaway when they got him. Like, nobody was writing home about Julius Randle signing with the Knicks. In fact, they got him on the cheap, and it wasn't a big deal. Right? They got him on the cheap, and with them getting him on the cheap, nobody was really, talking a lot about it. So because they weren't talking a lot about it, he way overperformed. This is a guy who had made the All-Pro team, the only All-Pro that the Knicks had since Carmelo Anthony. That was 10 years ago. And he's got a bad outing in the playoffs. They go from opening up the cathedral gates. They open up the cathedral gates for Julius Randle to tearing down his poster. Get him out of here. I know how quickly the Knicks fan base can turn on you as much as they love you. Let the Knicks this season, with all the pressure that they have on them, with all the pressure that they have on them and all the expectation that they have on them, let them get bounced in the first round. Let them get bounced in the second round. I can tell you right now, the love affair with Jalen Brunson, the love affair with Cat, that's going to be over. As much as I dig Mikal Bridges, let OG Anunoby be in and out of the lineup and let him get hurt again. And that be one of the reasons why they lose. Of 200, and he just signed a $212 million contract. We'll see how long that love affair lasts with him. Right? We'll see how long that lasts with him. 100% we will. We will see how long that lasts with him. And Athletic Mind, who wants to be a part of the show, I'll make him a part of the show, sure. Athletic Mind says Philly and Boston do the same thing, and you say nothing. That is not true. That is not true. Philadelphia has one of the worst fan bases in professional sports. They got one of the worst fan bases that you'll ever have. For them to run Ben Simmons out the way that they did, they booed Santa Claus. They booed Santa Claus. No doubt about it. Philadelphia has one of the worst fan bases. They cheered when Michael Irvin was carried off the field because he was hurt against the Eagles. He got carried out on a stretcher. They got one of the worst fan bases in the history of sports. They had a jail. They had a jail cell in the vet where the Philadelphia Eagles used to play. They had one of the worst fan bases in professional sports. Philadelphia does. One of the worst. So this is not just separate with the Knicks. So get your story straight when you talk about me, brother. Get your story straight. And the Celtics do not have that bad of a fan base. They're just spoiled rotten, like the Lakers are. So if you're going to talk about me, get your story straight. Now, as far as the Knicks, the thing I worry about is them pushing all of the chips to the front of the table. That's what they did. The Knicks pushed all their chips to the front of the table. This is not a win in 2 or 3 year team right now. This team is built to win right now. This isn't a let's feel this out like what happened with the Milwaukee Bucks, because I think that that Milwaukee Bucks team, they had a, let's see. I thought when they got Dame, they had a 3-year. They had a 3-year window. I think it's 2 years now. I think it's 2 seasons. Dame just turned 34 this year, and I think it's 2 years now. So with that, the window is closing, but the pressure of the pressure of them winning isn't what it is in New York. Giannis just signed an extension. So the pressure of them winning is not what it is in New York. If they don't win in New York with the team that they just put together, so essentially what the New York Knicks did was they traded Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and Bojan for Mikal Bridges, Cat, and 6 first-round picks. They've pushed all their chips to the front of the table. We're trying to win right now. We ain't trying to win in 2 years, 3 years. We're trying to win right now. We're trying to maximize this window of opportunity. Now, I understand that the moving off of Julius Randle, a large part of it was about the money. Yeah, a large part of it was about the money. They didn't want to pay Julius Randle, and I understand that. It's not that they didn't want to pay him. They didn't want to pay him what he thought he should get, what he thought he should get paid. They weren't interested in that. I think he's 29. Yeah, I think Julius Randle is 29 years old. And, excuse me, there's a market for him, but we're talking about a supermax guy, and the Knicks didn't see him as that. So he's in a contract year now in Minnesota. And they end up moving off of him. So they moved Dante DiVincenzo, Julius Randle for Cat, Mikal Bridges, and six first-round picks. 6 of them. So because of that, right? Because of that, this thing has to work. And it doesn't have to work. This thing doesn't have to work in 2 years. It has to work right now. So I reluctantly have the Knicks at 2. I got the Cavs at 3. I don't think that we have. I don't think that there's people who have enough respect for how good I think this team is going to be defensively. And I think with how good this team is going to be defensively, I expect them, right? I expect them to be a lot better offensively, because I think that with Mobley being healthy, not with just Mobley being healthy, with Donovan Mitchell not being in and out of the lineup and being hobbled like he was last year, with Jared Allen being able to play as much as he was able to play last year. I think he played 76 games, but then he ended up getting hurt in the playoffs. I thought he should have been an all-star last year. I thought he played well enough to make the all-star team. I would not have been surprised if he would have made the all-star team. The playmaker that Donovan Mitchell is, I think Donovan Mitchell is the best two guard in the game. I don't think that there's a two guard in the game that's the distributor that he is, that's the passer that he is, that has the stop and pop pull up game at the long ball line that he does. I don't think that with Donovan Mitchell, he's one of the best off ball defenders in the game. I don't know if there are many off ball I don't know if there are many off ball defenders in the game better than him. I think he's a damn good on ball defender. I think he's a damn good on ball defender. I think he's a better off ball defender. I think he's great at the rim at finishing, particularly at his size. He's really good at the stripe. He's good in the crunch. He could be close to a double digit. He could be close to a double digit assist man if guys like Strus, if guys like D Wade, if guys like George Niang, if those guys knock down more open shots. Because I watched Donovan Mitchell get downhill and create shots, create shots for those guys. And when he creates shots for those guys, a lot of them could have been converted. I've seen plenty of games. I've seen plenty of games where they get out in transition and D Mitch is getting downhill and he sees in the secondary break, he'll see, and nobody else will see him coming into the frame, but he'll see Max Strus coming into the frame and he's wide open, right? He's wide open and he'll end up missing. So with him seeing him wide open and him missing, I think that's part of his game that makes him dynamic. Donovan Mitchell has one of those games that once he gets going, he's pretty impossible to deal with. I've seen him carry in series in the postseason. I thought that 2 years ago when Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka were first-team All-NBA performers, I thought that was Donovan Mitchell's spot. He had never had that kind of season that he had in Cleveland. He had not had that kind of season ever once in Utah. And I think that was largely due, and I think that was largely due to how good they were defensively collectively. It wasn't just when he was in Utah, it was just Rudy. No. So I got two big guys, and I got other guys to compete on the defensive end. So, and I think with the addition of Kenny Atkinson, this team is going to be much better. Much better. I got them as a top 3 seed in the East. The same reason why I have the Denver Nuggets where I have them is the same reason why I have Milwaukee where I have them. You can't have the best player in the league. I don't think you can have the best player in the league and arguably the best player in the league on your team and not be in contention. That's not the way that works. No. Mm-mm. If you have a player that's that good and he makes everybody else that much better, like Giannis makes everybody else on that crew that much better, I have to consider them in the East just because they got arguably the best player in the game. I think Giannis can be better. I think Giannis can be better on ball as a defender. He's one of the best glass cleaners in the game. Right? He's one of the best glass cleaners in the game. In addition to Giannis being one of the best glass cleaners in the game, he's great off the ball. He's one of the best rim protectors in the game. Giannis is one of the best. I don't know if there's 3 better recovery defenders in the game than Giannis. When Giannis gets beat, he gets back into play. There aren't many guys who are as good as he is, especially at that position, that can get back into plays. I like Giannis as a switch defender. I love Giannis as a switch defender. I was surprised that he didn't make the All-League defensive team last year, but I understood it because Milwaukee was so bad. He was the only one that was able to protect Damian Lillard for as much as he could. They have no wings to protect him, but Damian Lillard is so good as a scorer offensively that I think he'll be back. I think Damian Lillard is a top 10 guard in the game. His stop and pop game, particularly in the mid, I won't even talk about in the long ball line. In the mid range, I think it's comparable to the best in the game. The problem with Damian Lillard is he won't compete on the defensive side of the ball. He won't. That's going to be the difference in winning and losing championships. That's going to be the difference in winning and losing championships. Competing on the defensive end. I see Steph Curry, who is not an all-league defender, but he will definitely compete. I saw that against Dallas. I saw that against Memphis. I saw that against Boston. He will compete. Damian Lillard won't. Not at that level, he won't. And that's the difference between winning and losing. The difference between winning and losing. They made some additions. I like the fact that they got Gary Trent. I like Taurean Prince on this unit. And I think that he can supplement some of the stuff that Middleton did just as a shooter, because he can shoot the long ball. Yes, he can. But they don't have enough pieces to protect Damian Lillard. So I'm good. At number 5, I got the Orlando Magic. And I just love Paolo. I love this kid, Banchero. I think that they're deficient at the lead guard spot, but I think they're going to make Banchero your primary league, your primary ball handler. That's until Anthony Black becomes what I think he can become, because I think he's their primary. I think he's going to be their primary ball handler, and I think he can be what not Halliburton is, because I don't think he's Halliburton good, but I think he can be to them what like LaMelo Ball is to Charlotte. I think he can be that good. I do. At 6'7", gets downhill. I still think that he needs to learn the game a little bit more. I don't think he's there yet. I don't think he's there yet, but I think he's getting there. I do. I definitely think he's getting there. Suggs is not a legit point guard. No, he isn't. He's actually better off the ball than he is on the ball. No, he is not. I'm not buying that. He's not the distributor that I think. He's not the distributor that you guys think he is. No, he isn't. I think that guy is Anthony Black. And I also think they got a really good backup lead guard. And I think they got a really good backup lead guard in Cole Anthony. I think a lot of you guys, when you see backup lead guards, if you ain't buckets, then why are you out here? Well, I mean, Cole Anthony, I think he is like 12 a game, 13 a game, something like that. And with Cole Anthony being able to score it, he's also a lot smarter than people give him credit for, and he will compete. Exactly what a backup lead guard does. They got some of the better defenders in the game, and I think that because their offense wasn't as good, I don't think because their offense wasn't. I think because their offense wasn't as good, I feel like their defense is going to be that much better, which is going to make their offense that much better. So when I think about how good, when I think about how good Orlando can be in Banchero, and I can't say this enough about Banchero, because I think, and I've said this to you guys before, I've seen guys who they aren't this person, but they remind me of that person. Like, wow, that's such and such. Like when I watch Anthony Edwards, for example. When I first started watching Anthony Edwards, I was like, that's Mitch Richmond right there, except a better athlete. That's what he looked like to me. Now, is he Mitch Richmond? No. But that's who he reminded me of. So when I watch Paolo Banchero, I'm looking at Paolo and I'm thinking, he reminds me a lot of Antoine Walker. He reminds me a lot of Antoine Walker when I watch him. A lot. There aren't many guys that I can say. There aren't many guys that I can say are as good as Antoine Walker. No, they're not. Not many. But when I watch when I watch Banchero, the stuff that I see from him, his ability to get downhill, how physical he is, not just how physical he is, his ability to score around the rim, how he shoots the long ball, that kind of stuff, man, that kind of stuff, that translates. And there's not many guys, there's not many guys at that size who can do that. So you got a guy like Mo Wagner, right? You got a guy like Mo Wagner who, when I watch him, I don't think that he's the ball handler that I don't think he's the ball handler that Paolo is. No, I don't think that. Mm-mm. I don't think he's the ball handler that Paolo is, but I do think he might be a better shot creator, maybe. But I'm not loving that neither. Mm-mm. I'm not loving that neither. So um I'll be real interested to see what they're doing in Orlando. At number 6, I got the Pacers. And I was torn between the Pacers and I was torn between the Pacers and Philly, but I don't think Joel Embiid is going to play enough. So I'm going with the Pacers. They got they got their whole unit back. I mean, they didn't lose anybody in their core. In fact, they get Matherin back. And with them getting Matherin back, and now Neesmith being who he is, I think this team is going to be I think this team is going to be able to compete on the defensive end more than it did last season. Neesmith was there. Matherin will be back. He got hurt. Obi Toppin has to be better as a wing defender, and he's just not. I'm out on. I'm out on. I wish I could say that I was in, but I'm out on Miles Turner. I think he's soft. But this is what I'm talking about when I talk about the Eastern Conference, because like between 5 and 8, I feel like all of these teams are interchangeable. Are the Miami Heat, are the Orlando Magic that much better than the Miami Heat? Are the Heat that much better than the Orlando Magic? No. I think these two teams are right there. Are the Indiana Pacers that far off from Milwaukee? I don't think so. I don't. I think that those two teams are right there. I think that Indiana has one of the best backup lead guards in the game. I love the fact that he will compete. TJ McConnell was 100% going to turn you. He's going to make an open shot, and he's not going to make a lot of mistakes. I think that's huge. Huge for a backup lead guard, because when you get a backup lead guard like that, what happens is you don't have to worry about the ship sinking. He's going to keep the ship afloat. He's not going to do anything to sink you. He's not going to turn the ball over. He's not going to take ill-advised shots. He's not going to do that kind of stuff. And that's huge when you're talking about a backup lead guard. As much as I talk about Jaylen Brown as arguably the best transition player in the game, I can say the same thing about Pascal Siakam. James, Giannis, Jaylen Brown, De'Aaron Fox, Pascal Siakam. I don't know if I can name 5 transition players better than him. James, Giannis, Jaylen Brown, De'Aaron Fox, maybe Kyrie Irving, maybe. When I think about transition players, there aren't. I don't know if there's 5 better than Pascal Siakam for what he does. For what Pascal Siakam does, and watching him in the playoffs, I mean, he looked like Kevin Durant in the mid-range. He looked fantastic. So, with that, I'm thinking to myself, where does Philly land in this? I think Philly's a play-in team. I think Paul George is going to be in and out of the lineup. I think Maxey is going to blossom even more this season because more responsibility is going to be put on him. I think Joel Embiid, if you're lucky, you get 55 games out of him. If you're lucky, you'll get 55 games out of him. The Miami Heat, I think that they're right there. I got them at 8. And that's because I don't know how many games Jimmy Butler's going to play, which would explain why I'm out on buckets. I'm good on Jimmy Butler. I'm straight. I think Bam is a 23-10 guy this year and an all-pro. I do. I think Bam is that good. I think Bam is a 23, 10, and a block guy this year. And I think he's an all-pro. I do. I think he's that good. I'm not on the fence about how I feel about Bam. I'm out on buckets. I am. If I could say that I hate buckets, I would say that, but it wouldn't be true because I don't hate him. I just think that you gotten everything that you're going to get out of him. But if you notice what he looks like in the preseason, here we are again, ladies and gentlemen. We're in a contract year. All right, we're in a contract year. Jimmy Butler's flying around. He's getting dunks in the game. Am I going to get 65 games out of Jimmy Butler? Maybe. I may get 65 games out of Jimmy Butler this year. That I don't know if that's ridiculous. Dubs Bestie sends a super chat. He says, calling it now, Miami is a top 3 seed again. Would I be surprised if Miami was a top 3 seed? Yes, I would be. I would 100% be surprised if they were a top 3 seed. Because that means that Jimmy Butler is playing. I think Jimmy Butler is playing like Jimmy Butler did 3 or 4 years ago, like an all-NBA performer. And that's going to be honest with you, that's going to boil my blood. And the reason why that's going to boil my blood is because why can't I consistently get that? I didn't get that last year. I didn't. Nope. So those are the 8 teams that I think right now. Could that change? Yes. It 100% can change. I don't think that I don't think that there are going to be any surprises in the East. When I think about Charlotte, I think Charlotte can knock on that. I think they can knock on that play-in door if LaMelo Ball can stay healthy. I think they can knock on that play. I think they can knock on that play-in door if LaMelo Ball can stay healthy. I'm not on the fence about that. I'm pretty confident about that. Because just what are we in? We're going into the 24-25 season. I want to say the 21-22 season. They had a stretch where they were a playoff team, and then Melo goes out of the lineup. And he goes out of the lineup, and he's out of the lineup for almost the rest of the season, and that sinks them. 100% sinks them. So if he could stay healthy with Bridges and with I love Mark Williams. I'm not on the fence about this. I'm not thinking maybe. That's the New York Knicks. Your starting center is in Charlotte, by the way. That's where your starting center is. He's in New York. I mean, he's in Charlotte. His name is Mark Williams. That's your starting 5-man. And the fact that you passed on him, I think he's better than Mitchell Robinson today. I do. I think Brandon Miller takes another step this season. And I think that this team, if LaMelo Ball can stay healthy, I think they're knocking on the play-in door. I do. I think they're knocking on that door. Will they get in? I think that remains to be seen. I'm not a fan of the play-in tournament. I've never been a fan of the play-in tournament. We already have a play-in tournament. If you can't make the playoffs after 82 games, you ain't a playoff team. But that's where we are. But I want to hear from you guys. The Eastern Conference is not what it used to be. It's not as weak as it used to be. It's a lot stronger than what it used to be. No doubt about that. So, what up?
What's up, Chill?
What up?
How's it going? I had a question about the Heat. Do you think that they can make this year a deep playoff run?
Could they? They could. 100% they could. Sure.
Okay.
I won't, because I think Bam's going to be better. I think
Same
in
here.
addition to
Yeah.
I think in addition to Bam being better, Jimmy Butler, when the playoffs come, I don't know what it is about him in the playoffs. He's not great throughout the entire playoffs, but he has stretches where he can completely take over a series. He's done that before. I've seen him do that. So I think that they could make a deep playoff run. I'm just not buying it. Not this year, I'm not. I think the Eastern Conference has gotten so much better, so I'm not buying it.
Okay. That's really all I wanted to ask. I just
All right, brother.
thoughts on things, man. So
No problem.
thank you so much, Chill. Thank you so much, bro.
Absolutely. What up?
What's up, Chill?
What up?
I know people give you like a lot of slack about having the Cavs as like the third seed, but before the injuries and stuff with Paul George and Joel Embiid, I had the 76ers right there, in that top three. But now that we know Joel Embiid isn't going to play back-to-backs, and Paul George, he's probably going to have his same injury issues again this year. It's definitely not ridiculous to think that at all. This is why I hate Joel Embiid, man, because he's messing up the natural order of things. I think they would be a lock for for the top three seed if he was healthy. And Paul George, I hate both of them.
Throw a monkey wrench in the whole thing. Wrench in the whole thing. He's 20 pounds. He's 25 pounds lighter. So that's supposed to be a good thing.
And he's still not playing back to backs. What the hell is going on?
That was supposed to be a good thing. The fact that he's 25 pounds lighter. So what happens when you preserve him like this, and then he breaks down again in the playoffs? Where are we now?
You're gonna be drove as hell. That's what you're gonna be like. You're just gonna be looking dumb, man. Like you just. For real, like if he breaks down again in the playoffs after preserving him that much, and man,
I just don't. There isn't anything that suggests to me that it won't happen. I'm not saying that I want it to happen. No, I think Joel Embiid is good enough. You've heard me say this before. I think Joel Embiid is good enough as a talent to throw a team on his back and take him to the championship. I think he's that good. I just think he made of glass. That's my issue with him. I think he's made of glass.
I think if it was ever his time, I think it would have been 2020, 2023. I think if that was ever the time for him to do that, I think it would be 2023. He could do it
now.
This year.
If I'm being honest with you, I think it's now. I think it's now. I think that Joel Embiid has a window of 3 years at this level. Because I think Joel Embiid, I think he's going to fall off a cliff as a big guy. I don't think he's going to go this way. I think he's going to go this way.
What about PG though?
I think we've seen the best of Paul George.
So, is he just going to be on a steady decline?
Yes. He'll be 35 when the playoffs start.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. But you say, he got 3 more years. That's 3 more years that you think that he can take his team to the playoffs. I'm assuming Paul George is a part of that equation as well.
We'll see about that because I don't know if he's going to be around in 3 years. I mean, I'm having a difficult time with Paul George at 37, 38 years old with this team. I'm good. No, I'm not trying to hear that. Nope.
Yeah, but from the third spot, from the Cavs, I have the Cavs, Indiana, who else? The Magic. I have all of them probably at the same tier of teams. I think, I think they finished very similarly this year. I actually have Indiana above the Cavs. I think Indiana, the Bucks too. I forgot about the Bucks too. I think you're sleeping on it.
I think you're sleeping on the Cavs, Joe. I do. I 100% think you're sleeping on the Cavs. I do.
I probably got Cavs the 4th or 5th seed. That's not sleeping. You know what I mean? That's pretty reasonable if I'm being honest. You know what I mean?
I think they're a lot better than what you give them credit for. I do.
But I just think Orlando. I think Orlando's going to be better. With Paolo taking another leap.
And I think Cleveland's going to be better too.
Now. They got KCP now. They actually have a shooter. I feel like they had him last year. They would have beat the Cavaliers. They went to 7 without him. I think because they didn't have no shooting last year. In the playoffs, they couldn't shoot worth a damn.
Right.
I know you're expecting Evan Mobley to be better, and that's fair. I mean, he's going in year 4.
Yep.
Year 4, yeah.
Yep.
That's usually we just saw Ed take a leap in his year 4, so it ain't too much to think about. Yeah, Boston.
We're gonna see though.
Boston gonna remain number 1. I'm just happy NBA basketball is back.
Yes, it is. Next Tuesday, opening night. All right, Marcus. Yep. What up?
Hey, Chill.
What up?
Hey, so here's my question, please. So in 2022, right? The Bucks didn't have Chris Middleton, right? And Giannis and Drew Holiday, they took the Bucks to number 1 in the East, right? And Giannis actually averaged 30 points.
In 22, no, they didn't have the best record in the East. No, they didn't. The Celtics had
I think they did. Either in 2022 or 2023. Right? One of those.
I think it was 23. In 23, they had the number 1 seed and they lost to the Heat.
Yes. Okay. So here's the question. So Chris Middleton actually averaged he missed 50 games, right? So and they were like number one in the East overall. They were like number one, right? And Giannis averaged like 30 points and 11 rebounds and like 5.4 assists, right? Why is it that they still average? No. Why is it that they still uh rank Jokic over Giannis? He- considering the
Why?
fact that yes, considering the fact that he didn't have Chris Middleton, right? And also, I just want to know why you guys want to rank Jason Tatum over Jalen Brown, because in 2022, Jalen Brown was actually going to be the MVP in the finals, right? If they were to win, but
But they
Tatum
didn't
played
win.
so
But
bad.
they did.
Yeah,
But they didn't win.
yeah, yes, but he was really playing better than
But
Tatum.
they didn't win. Okay. But they didn't win. That's the point.
Yeah,
They didn't win. Just like they did. Just like in 2011, the Heat didn't win, and Dwayne Wade would have won the NBA. He would have won the Finals MVP. So, but
but
they didn't win.
so like my point is that he was playing better. He was better. That's my point.
Your
And then
stance is no, stop right there. Stop. Because your stance is basically what he did in the NBA Finals. Jaylen Brown doesn't see the same coverages that Jason Tatum sees. He doesn't pass the ball like Jason Tatum. He doesn't defend like Jason Tatum. He doesn't shoot it like Jason Tatum. He isn't the one-on-one player that Jason Tatum is. He isn't what Jason Tatum is. Your stance is him being what he was in the NBA Finals in 22, which is 2 years ago. That's it. That's your
even like
entire stance.
chill. Even this past season, right? In the playoffs, he outplayed
Wrong,
Tatum,
wrong,
right? Yes, he
wrong,
did though.
wrong. Who led them in
Hey,
scoring? Who led them in? I'm
Tatum,
asking you a simple question. Hold on. Answer the question. Who led them in scoring?
I probably Tatum.
Who led them in rebounding?
It's him.
Who led them in rebounding?
It's Tatum.
Who led them in assists?
It's Tatum.
And who saw and with all of these coverages that he saw,
But
and let's not act like Jaylen Brown was just lighting it up. I don't know if I think he was 7 for 25 or some nonsense like that. In your estimation, you're talking about the finals. I think he was like 7 for 25 in the closeout game.
yes,
But I'm not
it's
even
true
talking
though.
about that. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about throughout the season. Jason Tatum has been the most consistent. He played the most games. He's the only all-pro that they had on that team, the only one. I think you are caught up in the narrative that everybody else is caught up in. When you watch the playoffs, automatically, he was better. Unlike completely forgetting the idea that Jason Tatum did win the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, just like Jaylen Brown did. And it could have went to Jason Tatum. It could have very well went to him. So
But
this narrative that you guys come up with, this shit is corny. It is, man. And I'm
but
over it. I'm over it. I'm good. I'm over it. I'm over it. What up?
Yo, what up, Chill?
What's up, brother?
What's up? What's up? I don't get why people say that the Eastern Conference is weaker than the West, and I think that it may seem like that because with the conferences, don't each team in the conference, don't they play the most games against their conference?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, wouldn't that be a reason why the records are like they are? Because if you're playing more better teams, then it's a chance that you would lose more
That's
than
fair.
if you're playing more weaker teams.
You beating up on each other. It's kind of like in football where the AFC North with the Steelers and the Browns and the Ravens. It might look like the AFC is weak, or it might look like that division is weak because the best team in it wins 9 games. But the problem is that we beating up on each other. I could get with
Right.
that logic, sure. I could.
And the reason why I think like that is because in this past playoffs, I feel like Boston had a tougher time playing against Miami, Cleveland, and the Pacers than they did playing against the Mavericks. So I don't think there's enough to say well the West is just that much better, just because I feel like the West has all the stars and they're top heavy. But I believe the East has better overall teams, and I think they play better team ball in the East. And one of the teams that I'm really high on this year is the Pacers. I
Mhm.
don't feel like a lot of people are talking about them. And I know you said that Miles Turner is soft, but I think he's a good enough rim protector for them to still run their offense through Tyrese Halliburton. And I just became a real big fan of Aaron Nimhart. I think he's really good. So I think
Mhm.
the Pacers are going to be a great team.
Pay
And then
attention to
like
that kid Neesmith too, by the way.
Yeah. I like he's a good defender. I like him. He's athletic. I like him.
Yep.
And then people are talking about like the Magic, like the Cavaliers, the East are going to be really good this year. So I'm excited about that.
Well,
But
you had mentioned about how all the stars are in the West, and I don't know if you was here when I mentioned it. Like I don't think we give enough credit to what's going on in the East. The NBA champ is in the East. I think the best small forward in the game is in the East. I think the best two guard in the game is in the East. The assist leader is in the East. The most improved player in the game is in the East. Arguably the best defensive player in the game is in the East. I mean, there's a bunch of different variables in the East. A bunch of them. I can appreciate the logic of, there's stars out west, but you got a lot going on in the East too. A lot.
yeah, you do. So I'm really ready for that for the season to get started. But I still think it's still going to be, and hopefully it is Boston. Because I'm just ready for them for Tatum's legacy to take off, and Jaylen Brown, because I don't really like how people talk about them, because it's like the thing I don't like is like they criticize them for being on a great team, but the way I see it, if you're the best player on the best team with good players, shouldn't that elevate
We don't do
how
that with
good you are?
anybody else, Classic. We in your estimation, Classic, since you've been watching basketball, right? Since you've been watching basketball, have you seen anybody else on a championship team where the best player, even if it was close with the other guy, even if it was close with the other guy, have you seen the disrespect that this guy gets?
No, I've never seen it. And then even with Brown as a number two, like they're exceeding what they're supposed to do. Like they won 60 something games last year and they won a championship. And it's been
64
teams
games.
that's had like more supposedly more talented players and that they still won, but they didn't win that many games. And so my thing is like, so with the Olympic team, when you put all the good players on the Olympic team, if LeBron was the MVP, shouldn't that show how good LeBron is? If you're saying, okay, if I put all the good players on one team, who's going to stand out? Because somebody has to stand out. So I think whenever we're talking about Tatum and Brown, if the team is so good, they're winning all these games, and they're the best player on those teams, that should show how good they are. And I feel like when Kevin Durant was with the Warriors, we never criticized KD for being on such a good team because he made them better. So I just feel like you said, the conversations around those two are different.
It is. It 100% is. So, Classic, good to talk to you, brother.
All right, man. You have a good one.
Yeah. What up?
Hey, what up? I had just a quick question for you about your TikTok about Embiid the other day.
What about him?
So you had mentioned that the 76ers had 14 back-to-backs, so that would leave 68 games for Embiid to play.
Sure.
But wouldn't he play in 7 out of those 14 because he would play in one game and then not play in the other? Or do I have it messed up?
I thought that I actually thought it was the other way. They got the 14 back-to-backs. And that's not to say that might be the case, but which of those games is he playing? And is he missing both of those games? Is he going to play in one of them?
Yeah, we're talking about like a 7-game difference, so it's nothing major.
I'm thinking at minimum he's going to miss 20 games. At minimum, he's going to miss 20 games.
Yeah, even without back-to-backs. I mean, just off of.
I'm thinking at minimum he's missed. I got him playing 55 games this year.
Yeah, I mean. That's completely reasonable.
That's what I got him playing. I got him playing 55 games this season, max. That 65 game threshold, I do not have him playing that.
Yeah, no, nope. I don't think he'll ever play that much in his career again. Nope. Which sucks because
all NBA gone, all the defense gone, MVP gone. So all of that stuff is now gone.
So how would you be able to rank him at that point if he did end up coming out with championships but not being able to collect those other accolades?
I can't talk about him like I talk about the all-time greats, like like Jabbar and Chamberlain and Shaq and Olajuwon, David. I can't talk about him like that. I won't. I can't because
I heard you saying that in your TikTok live this morning.
That's only winning championships. Which I mean, we live in a culture of championships. And don't get me wrong, winning matters. I care about winning, but that's only one box that's checked.
Yeah.
Because if we're talking about guys winning, the Boston Celtics won the NBA championship 8 straight years.
Yeah.
8 straight. I don't hear nobody talking about Bill Russell being the GOAT, which he should be. Which he should be. The Boston Celtics just won the NBA championship this year. Why isn't anybody talking about Jason Tatum as the best player in the game? Nobody.
That's the narrative. That's why.
Nobody is talking
People
about
like
him
to
being the best
follow it.
player in the game. But Joel Embiid, who over the next, because I think this window was a 3-year window. Over the next 3 years, if he's averaging 50, 55 games, I got to talk about him like I talk about Jabbar. Even though he only checks one box, he has not been an elite defender for as long as any of these guys has. He's not been an elite rim protector. He has not been an all-pro for as long as these guys have. I got to talk about him like I talk about them. I will not.
Yeah, I think
will
if Philly, at this point, if Philly was to come out with championships at this point, he probably wouldn't be the first or second option with Paul George and Maxey there now.
No,
If he's not
he's their guy. No, he's 100% their guy. No doubt about that. They run that offense through him, whether it's on the block, whether it's in the mid post, whether it's at the nail. They run that offense primarily through him. They don't run that 5-out shit that Doc Rivers used to run. No, they don't run that. But everything that they do is predicated on him. Everything. That's why I'm having a problem with them winning it, because he's going to be in and out of the lineup so much. So it's going to be difficult to build the chemistry.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of.
I'm only playing 55 games. I mean, I think it's going to be difficult to build the chemistry. Well, wait a minute, BP. Kawhi Leonard, he only played 55 games and they won it. I think that's an anomaly. I think that's a completely different situation. Completely different.
Yeah, I think I kind of misworded it. I just kind of meant if they somehow came out with championships, he wouldn't be the most impactful on that team if they made a playoff run, because he probably wouldn't be able to make it through it.
I would love to see him do it, because I think I think from a talent standpoint, I think he's good enough to do it. I just don't think he's going to be able to, because I think he's made of glass.
Yeah,
that's my issue with him.
Yeah, that's completely understandable. But I just wanted to clear that up about your TikTok the other day. So
all right,
I appreciate it, though. Have a nice night.
What up?
Oh, yo, what's good, Jill?
What up?
So I know you're a Cleveland guy, and I think someone that you don't bring up enough when you're talking about Cleveland is Isaac Okoro, because they just signed him to that 3-year deal and stuff like that. And like, I just wanted to point something out about Isaac that I don't think people realize enough. Like, did you know, like, every year he's been getting better at his 3-point percentage? And I think, exactly. And I think, because I was talking to my friends and I was like, this might be a hot take, but I think he could possibly be at like the 41% mark when shooting from the 3. Because, like, I think Cleveland, I don't think they're going to be a 3 seed like you do. I got them in between like the 4 and 5 again, because I just think injuries is going to plague them again. It's just what's been going on with them for the last like 2 years with like Darius Garland and Evan Mobley, right? So like, I think that's just a factor that people definitely need to bring in more while talking about Cleveland is Isaac Okoro and stuff like that. And who's their new coach again? Because I know they got rid of
Kenny Atkinson.
So yeah, I think their defense will probably be the same, probably maybe a little better. But I think that's one important thing. But I'm a Bucks fan, so I ain't talking about them for real. Because I'm
now you had just mentioned the Cavs. You ain't talking about them being a 3 seed. Well, I know that this may sound ridiculous, because I'm a fan of progression. So when Donovan Mitchell gets there, the year Donovan Mitchell gets there, the year before that they're a play-in team.
True.
Donovan Mitchell gets there, they're a top 5 seed.
Yeah, okay.
They lose in the first round. Last year, they're a 4 seed.
And they get to the second round.
Yep. They were 2 games out. They were 2 games out the 2 spot, by the way.
Yep. That's true.
So with them, to your point, with them being able to avoid the injury bug, getting bitten by the injury bug, if they can avoid that, is it ridiculous for me to think that they can win 55 games? No, it's not. And to your point, Isaac Okoro, I think he shot almost 40 at the long ball line last season. Almost.
Yes, he did.
I think he shot almost 40 at the long ball line. But I'm not really, I don't really pay a lot of attention to him in that aspect more than I look at him as a defender and a guy who can just keep the defense honest. You don't have to keep the defense honest just at the long ball line. You don't. I think one of the main reasons why Milwaukee won the NBA championship when they did was because Giannis was respectable in the mid-range. Like, you had to honor that. You're not just going to eat that. Like, all right, knock that down all night. No, I got to get out there because he can make that.
Yeah.
It went the other way. I don't know how it went the other way, but I'd love to see if Giannis can get that back in his game. I think that's could be one of the major differences in Milwaukee really contending. Same logic with Isaac Okoro. I don't think Isaac Okoro has to live at the long ball line. I can appreciate spacing because I know that we live in a league where, you know, spacing is the buzzword. But what we don't talk about when we talk about spacing isn't just relegated to the long ball line. Why do you think Cat is as good as he is? It's not just because he shoots the long ball. His game starts around the 15, 18-foot range. When I can get a big man and drag him away from the basket, that creates spacing for guys around the basket like Rudy, like Anthony Edwards diving to the rim. When I can get in that mid-range, because now I can create more spacing and then move you further away from the basket. Once I'm knocking that shot down, I feel like if Isaac Okoro can just be respectable, not just at the long ball line, but just as a shooter, I think he makes them a lot more dangerous.
Yeah, and he's extremely athletic too. Like he can really like get up there if he wants to. Like he can be a lob threat if you know they want to live in that spot range. But I was gonna say, can I ask one more question, or do you got to keep it going?
What up?
All right, because I'm also a Bucks fan, so like. Because I got the Bucks. This might be a hot take. I got them as a 2 seed because I really think that the addition of Gary Trent Jr. is really important for them. And I'm a Dame guy. Now, last year, obviously, it wasn't his best year when it comes to shooting in general. Like he was shooting at like 40-something.
It was actually the worst.
Yeah, and we know exactly, and we know there's no way because I'm a Dame. Not Dame. Yeah, that's not happening. There's no way. So that's why I got them bumping up to the 2 seed because I think they could be in the Eastern Conference Finals with the Boston Celtics. Now, do I think the Boston Celtics will go to NBA Finals again? I'm not gonna lie, yes, because you know they basically still got their core group. They still got that whole group. But I think if, like you said earlier, with Giannis's mid range, if he just somehow drinks some magical water and somehow get that mid range back, then I think that you can definitely say that they can make it back to the finals. Now, whoever they go against in the West, obviously that matters. But
if Giannis is back in the NBA championship, he's beating whoever's coming out the West. If it's not Denver, if it's the Lakers, I'm having a difficult time not seeing Giannis winning it again. If he's back in the NBA finals, his confidence is going to be through the roof.
Not even against the Thunder with them adding Isaiah Hartenstein and
Lo. I'm gonna be honest with you, and this might be a hot take.
What's up?
If the Milwaukee Bucks are in the NBA finals, I think they smoke Oklahoma City.
Like in 4 or 5?
I think Giannis averages almost 40 a game against them.
Oh my God.
I don't think that they have anything for him.
I
ain't talking about right now. I'm talking about if we are in the NBA finals and Giannis is there and he's healthy, that tells me that this is where Giannis is right now. And he looking at SGA like, I can't believe y'all got this dude in front of me. I can't believe you got this dude in front of me, stopping me from winning the NBA championship. I am going to destroy this guy.
But then you got to look at, because, Damian Lillard will have to get guarded by Caruso or like a Lou Dort too. So then, because you need other guys to score, obviously. But do you think he'll be able to still, because you remember, he's an underrated playmaker. I don't think people talk about how Giannis can actually play make too.
He's one of the better playmaking. I actually had to come off that. I was on that hill. This was last year. This was last year when it was not this season that just passed, but the year before that. I think the Bucks had won like 16 out of 17. And I'm like, I think Giannis is a better playmaker. I think he a better offensive player than Joker. And then I had to get off that.
You gotta calm down.
Relax. Chill out, yo. I know you're a little charged about what you're saying right now, but relax, calm down. But I think the difference is, because there was just speculation, but I think the difference is, and you're a Dame guy, so you probably can appreciate this. I don't think the level of commitment on the defensive end is there, and I think that's the difference between y'all winning and losing the championship. That's it.
I just want to see him put in a little bit. I'm not saying you need to be a shutdown defender. Just give in effort. That's all I ask.
That's why Dallas ain't winning it. That's why Dallas is not winning it for that reason right there. For that reason right there. That's why Dallas ain't winning it, because Luka won't give me that consistent effort on defense.
Steph gives you that effort, even though you don't. Obviously, no one thinks he's a top defender, but he will at least like try to pickpocket guys and stuff like that. But
he's going to compete on the defensive end. That's going to happen. So All right, Alo, good to talk to you, brother.
Good to talk to
Absolutely.
you.
Yep. Y'all know what time it is when y'all see me. It's about that time, guys. I got to bounce. It was good to see you guys tonight. Y'all know what time it is. And y'all know where to find me at. Y'all know what it is. If I'm not here, I'm on the panel weekdays, Monday to Friday. Y'all know what it is. If I'm not there, you can catch me on Saturday with my man Big Ox. If I'm not there, you can catch me on TikTok, 9 a.m., Monday to Friday. I will see you guys soon. Until then, put on a suit, drink water. Don't drink and drive. Hey, man, call your mother. When last time you talked to your mother? Call your mother. I just talked to my mother a couple of days ago. Her birthday was a couple of days ago. So call your mother. I will talk to you guys soon. But until then, take it light. Take it. Absolutely, man. It was good to see you guys tonight. This was dope. No doubt.